What's up, you guys? This is Minister Jones. I am back for our encouragement one-on-one video post. Today, I'm going to do something a little bit different versus what I normally do on my videos. I want to explain something to you guys first, and we're still on the forgiveness series. We're down to 2 videos, so this will be 1, and Thursday will be 2, and then we're done with the forgiveness series. What I'm going to do today is because I want to explain to you guys what my ministry, what it's built on, how it became. When God first gave me the revelation about my ministry, it came through reading a book, and at the end of, I got through the first book and it inspired me so much. I was at a bad point in my life, and I looked up the author of the book that I was reading because it was nothing but God that I ended up with the book. That's a whole nother story. But I googled the author and I looked up other books that she had. Her name is Cindy McMenamin, and I ordered more books. And one of the books that I read, it was a book on forgiveness. And at the end of the book, it tells you how to start a women's group study. And by the time I got to the end of the book, I knew what direction, the Holy Spirit was taking me in, and God was giving birth to a ministry through me with women in a group study. And the first year, that's what it was, women's group study. The second year, my ministry became Vessel Broken Ministry, and again, it's book based. So the Holy Spirit leads me to what book that I should read and study. And I was facilitating and teaching groups of women each year for like the summertime for like 12 weeks until we finished the book. We met on Mondays for an hour, and we group study. We did group study, and I did that for another 2 years behind that. And then God leveled me up again, just recently this year. This year is my 4th year in ministry, and now God has leveled me up to where I'm doing videos, and I'm still reading, teaching, and facilitating out of the books that He gives me. And so that's how Powerhouse came about, because Powerhouse is the videos, and the group study was when I was with the women. So God is continuously leveling me up in ministry, and I'm very grateful for that. So now we're on Powerhouse, where I'm doing videos where people can watch them. Because one of the things that God did teach me while I was doing the women's group studies is it's hard to get people to read, and to stay in tune when they're reading and when we're doing studying. So the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, just because they do not read does not mean that they do not need to know. So I had to do it myself, go through, make sure that I study, come up with questions, and order the feedback. But now I'm doing 4 videos, and we're going through the discussions, and I love this part of it because I can give it to you from a personal standpoint. So I said all that to say, because we're ending this forgiveness series, the teaching that I got it from was by Joyce Meyer. Do yourself a favor and forgive. So Joyce Meyer is where we got our forgiveness journey, our teachings from, so thank God for Joyce Meyer. I think she just turned like 77 June the 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. But her books, reading her books, I went from Cindy McMenamin, working on my emotions and my feelings. So if you want to Google her, look up her. Cindy McMenamin is a very, very, she's a good writer. She's a good minister. She's a leader also. She's been writing books for a while now. She's been ministering for a long time now, but she's very, very good. So I went from Cindy, and then God ushered me on to Joyce Meyer. And one of the things that I see now as we're ending this forgiveness series is understanding and knowing her story in full. And I'm going to end this forgiveness series with her story. So I wanted you to know exactly where everything was coming from, what book we're reading from. So at the end of each series, I will share with you guys where this information is coming from. So this is the last chapter of the book, and I dissected it down to 2. The next video may be kind of short. This one, I just wanted to take the time to express what my ministry is, how it became, and how it became where it is right now. So I just thank God for entrusting me, because he knew, that I would be able to do it through him, of course, because I seeked him the entire time. So I'm praying that this forgiveness series, because we went off Joyce's teaching and my facilitating, and the way the Holy Spirit gave it to me is how I gave it to you guys. So if you need this book, if you need to reread it again, Joyce Meyer, do yourself a favor and forgive. Very great book. Now I'm going to jump right into this, because I'm going to read it directly out of the book, which is something that I haven't done the entire series. I took certain pieces out, but I haven't read it in its entirety. But this chapter is pretty much what her entire book is based on, from her life experience, and I actually wanted to share that with you guys. So this is the last chapter of the book, and it's titled God's Reward. And it says, according to the Bible, we cannot please God without faith, and those who come to him must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. And that's from Hebrews 11:6. God is a rewarder. I love the thought of it, don't you? We all like rewards for our hard work. And I admit that living a forgiving lifestyle is hard work. It is not something we do right a few times and then move beyond it. It is something that we deal with throughout our lives, and usually more frequently than we would like to. When I am doing something that is hard, it always helps me to remember that reward is on the other side of the pain. A person works out at a gym 3 times a week, even though it is hard work and often makes them sore, because they look forward to the reward of better health and a muscular body instead of a flabby one. We go to work for the reward of a much needed paycheck. We go to the grocery store for the reward of eating at home. I doubt that we would do much in life if there were no promise of reward. God says that every man will receive his reward for the things he has done in this life, whether they were good or bad. That's Revelations 22:12. He called Abraham to leave his family and home to go to a place that God would afterwards show him. God promised Abraham that there would be a reward for his obedience. That's Genesis chapter 12 verses 1 through 2, chapter 15 verse 1. When a child passes all the tests of each grade in school, his reward is that he graduates. We also must pass tests in this life. The forgiveness test is just one of them, but it is an important one. And when we pass it, we do receive God's reward. The reward may manifest in many ways. It comes in the form of peace and joy, but it can also come in the form of some kind of promotion in life. Joseph had to pass the forgiveness test before he was promoted to a position of power and authority in Egypt. Are you looking for promotion in life, but you're angry? If you are, then you will miss your reward. We all have our own story, but since I am writing this book, I will tell you mine and pray that it helps you. So that was the intro to this last chapter. And now I'm going to read a brief part of her life, and I'm going to finish it in video 2. So again, I'm going to start on half of it. And remember, this is Joyce Meyer's story. And make sure also, if you're watching this, I want you to pause it and give a prayer up unto God. You need the Holy Spirit to lead you and guide you. Some things are kind of difficult to hear, especially if you've been in this same position. It may hit you a little harder. But anytime you're hearing or reading or someone is telling you about an experience that they went through that was very dreadful, you want to always be prayerful because you want to receive it the way that you should receive it. And I'm going to start on this. It says, I was born June the 3rd, 1943. The day I was born, my father was shipped overseas to be a soldier in World War II. I am told that I didn't see him again until I was 3 years old. I remember always being afraid of my father. It seems he was always shouting and angry about one thing or another. Of course, my mother and I always assumed it was something we had done. But then it also seemed that no matter what we did, he still found reasons to be angry. For the first 9 years of my life, it was just my mother and me in the house with dear old dad. But then my brother came along. But then my father was already molesting me regularly. And I remember hoping with all my heart that when my mother gave birth, the baby would be another girl. In my childish foolishness, I thought if the baby was a girl, then maybe my father would like her better than me and stop doing the things he did that made me feel bad and dirty. The baby was a boy, not a girl. And I think I resented him for that for a while. Then we bonded and I often felt that my brother, who was named David, was my only friend in the family. He didn't know what my father was doing to me, but he had battles of his own fight. He experienced the brunt of my father's anger also and started drinking and doing drugs at a very early age. When he was 17, he enlisted in the Marine Corps, went to fight in the Vietnam War, and was never the same again. Actually, I am sad to say that while I was writing this book, my brother was found dead in a homeless shelter in California at the age of 57. I am sure someone is thinking right now, why is Joyce in ministry helping people all over the world and her brother was living in a homeless shelter? My brother was in a homeless shelter because he refused to walk the narrow road that leads the way to life. We helped David at various intervals of his life, including having him live with us for a few years, but the end result was always the same. He once said to me, sis, I am not mean, I am just stupid. He knew that he made bad choices, but for some reason, I don't fully understand he continued to make them. I think my brothers and my life are an interesting parallel. By God's grace, I took the narrow road, and my life now is filled with God's reward. I am happy, content, blessed, and I have privilege of helping people come to know the love and forgiveness of God and his reward in his own life. My brother took the wide road that led to destruction, and he is dead at age 57 without ever having experienced God's reward fully. I think I can truly say that he wasted his life and nobody could get him to stop. He had a few good years while he lived with us, but as soon as he got out on his own, he went back to bad choices and bad results. We were both hurt as children, and God offered both of us help and restoration, but we ended up at an entirely different place in life due to our own choices. God loved us both and still does, but I know he is sad that my brother David missed so much. I know I am sad because of it, but it makes me even more determined than ever to keep sharing the truth with people. We overcome evil with good, Romans 12:21. And my response to my brother's death can only be, I will press in even more than before to help as many people as I can. If you have had disappointments in life that are trying to pull you down into apathy and inactivity, resist and be determined to come out of your headache even stronger than before. Don't let your disappointments make you bitter, but instead let them make you better. My father sexually abused me for as long as I can remember until I left home at the age of 18. I conservatively counted that he raped me at least 200 times in my life before the age of 13 and 18. Prior to that, he molested me. My father didn't force me physically, but he forced me with fear and intimidation, and the effect was brutal. I went to my mother for help, but she didn't really know how to deal with what I was telling her. So she chose to not believe me and do nothing. She has since apologized, but it took her 30 years to do so. And by then, I had already recovered through God's help. So I had a father who abused me and a mother who abandoned me. And that's why God put me with Joyce Meyer. I can sympathize with that. I've been down that same road. Not the exact same road, but I've been down with the abuse from my father and the abandonment from my mother. From my father, it was more mental abuse. Attempt of molestation. Attempts. It was a lot. And if you watch my video before, forgiving those that hurt and abused you, there's more detail in that one. I ain't gonna go into that one right now. So I had a father who abused me and a mother who abandoned me, and then found myself with a God who showed me I had to completely forgive them both. Same road I went down. You might want to pause and think about that a little before you rush on to hear the rest of my story. And that's where I'm going to stop it today. So these videos are not going to be very long because we're cutting edge at the end. But I wanted you guys to see, because we're still talking about the reward. So no matter what we've been through, no matter what valleys we've come through, we still have two roads to choose to go down. Remember, that was the last video where we talked about the narrow road and the wide road. And the narrow road is the road that very many do not get to see. And as we see in the story, Joyce Meyer's brother did not go down the narrow road. So he didn't get to experience everything, that God had for him. He died at 57 in a place where he didn't have to die, but that's what life will do to us if we do not accept God's grace, because His grace is sufficient and it is available, and you want to get the grace while it's there, or we perish, in our anxiety and our depressions. And she has a very strong story, and it actually, the abandonment issues I suffered from my mom and my dad affected me a whole lot throughout my life. But when God presented His grace to me, and when I accepted it, I had to do my work. And the more I did my work to get better, the Lord taught me how to help others in the process. So I hope this has blessed you. And we're going to do part 2. Remember, next video is the last video on the forgiveness series. Make sure that if you watch this video and this story has affected you, make sure that you pray before I post the next one or before you watch the next one. But it is very liberating for me, because there is a reward at the end. There is a reward at the end. The enemy tried to take me out several times, especially mental abuse. Mental abuse it breaks down everything. Once your mentality is gone, everything is gone. And if the Lord's grace can bring me through that, I know that the narrow road is for me. So I'm hoping you guys think that too. So this is Minister Jones. One more video. We're cutting edge. Make sure you catch my video with the chance for 2 people to win $100. Follow the directions the way I have given them to you. From this past Friday to the current Friday that's coming up, dates are on there. And when it will be reoccurring, when I will come back. I will shut down for a week, so make sure you watch that video also. So this is Minister Jones. Stay encouraged on your journey. Stay prayerful for the next video, and I'm out.